High above the South China Sea, a Boeing 777 glides through the darkness. Inside, 239 souls journey through the night. Most are sleeping. The cabin is dark and quiet. Outside, the world is a tapestry of distant sleeping cities. In the cockpit, the flight is perfectly routine. At 1:19 a.m., the captain makes his final, unremarkable transmission to Malaysian air traffic control. His words are calm, clear, and will become forever infamous. "Good night, Malaysian 370. 2 minutes later, at the precise moment the plane should have identified itself to Vietnamese controllers, its transponder, the device broadcasting its identity, and altitude, goes silent. On the radar screens of civilian air traffic control, the icon for MH370 simply blinks out of existence. In a world woven together by a web of satellites, GPS, and constant communication, this should not happen. Yet on March 8, 2014, 250,000 tons of advanced technology and 239 human souls flew away from our map. The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is more than a mystery. It is a direct challenge to our modern sense of security. It is a true anomaly. Sensationalist theories have clouded the investigation for years. Our mission here is different. We will be your guide through the noise. We will deconstruct the timeline, analyze the only real evidence left behind, and objectively explore the possibilities, no matter how unsettling they are. Welcome to the Anomaly paradigm. Our investigation into the ghost flight begins now. To understand the anomaly, we must first establish the timeline of facts. At 12:42 a.m. Malaysian time, MH370 takes off from Kuala Lumpur. Its intended flight path was simple, a direct 6-hour route north to Beijing. The plane regularly talked to the airline via an automated system called ACARS, which sends updates on the aircraft's health. At 1:07 a.m., the system sends its final routine message. All systems were normal. The flight was proceeding exactly as planned. At 1:19 a.m., approaching the edge of Malaysian airspace at waypoint I Gary, the flight was instructed to contact air traffic control in Vietnam. The now infamous final words were spoken from the cockpit. "Good night, Malaysian 370. But MH370 never checked in with Vietnam. On the screens in Ho Chi Minh City, where the flight should have appeared, there was only silence. At 1:21 a.m., at the precise moment of handover, the plane's transponder stopped broadcasting, erasing it from civilian radar. Around the same time, the ACAR system also stopped transmitting. The plane's 2 main voices had been silenced. But the plane was not gone. Military primary radar, which tracks objects regardless of transponders, detected a sharp, uncommanded turn to the southwest. The last military radar contact was at 2:22 a.m., as the aircraft flew out over the Andaman Sea and beyond the radar's range. The aircraft had vanished from all known eyes, but it was not yet a ghost. It was still leaving one last faint trail of digital breadcrumbs. In space. This is where the modern mystery truly begins. The key was a British satellite Inmarsat 3F1. On board MH370 was a satellite data unit, or SDU, designed to keep the plane logged into the network. To maintain this connection, a ground station sends an hourly handshake or ping to the aircraft, simply to confirm the link is active. It's an automated digital heartbeat. Investigators made a stunning discovery. For 6 more hours after it vanished from radar, MH370's SDU continued to automatically respond to every single ping. These pings contained no data about location or speed, but they held 2 vital clues. The first was the time it took for the signal to travel, known as the burst timing offset. By calculating this for each of the 7 handshakes, they could draw 7 concentric rings on a map, showing the plane was moving further from the satellite over time. This created 2 possible flight corridors, a northern arc over Central Asia and a southern arc over the desolate Indian Ocean. To determine which path it took, they used the second clue, the Doppler effect, which measures the shift in radio frequency caused by movement. If the plane flew north, the frequency would shift in one way relative to the satellite. If it flew south, it would shift in the opposite direction. The Inmarsat team calculated the expected frequency shifts for both arcs. Then, they compared it to the actual data received from MH370. The result was a perfect match. The data from the ghost flight aligned flawlessly with the southern path. The northern arc was eliminated. The final ping at 8:19 a.m. placed the aircraft on what is now known as the 7th arc. The pings had given investigators an answer to where, but it was an answer from a nightmare, one of the most remote and deepest oceans on the planet. But the data also told us something else. The flight path was not random. It was controlled. Disabling the communication systems, navigating between airspaces, and flying for 6 more hours requires skill, knowledge, and intent. The investigation inevitably focused on the cockpit. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a 53-year-old veteran with over 18,000 flight hours, widely respected by his peers as a talented and passionate senior pilot. His passion for aviation was so great, he built an elaborate flight simulator in his own home. It became a key piece of evidence. When investigators analyzed the simulator's hard drive, they found deleted data. Once recovered, it revealed several simulated flight paths deep into the southern Indian Ocean. However, the official report notes that thousands of flight paths were simulated on the device, and it is not conclusive proof of a plan, though it remains a deeply suspicious finding. The co-pilot, Farik Hamid, was 27 years old and on a training check flight for the 777. The investigation found no red flags in his personal life or communications. Extensive background checks were conducted on all 227 passengers. An early lead involving 2 stolen passports led nowhere. They belonged to asylum seekers with no links to terror. No passenger had the known expertise to hijack a 777 and fly it for hours while remaining completely hidden. No credible claim of responsibility was ever made. This leaves us with a difficult truth. While the evidence is circumstantial, the sheer precision of the plane's flight path points overwhelmingly towards a knowledgeable hand at the controls. But what was the nature of this action? Was it a response to a catastrophic failure or the cause of it? Theory 1: Catastrophic failure in the ghost flight. This theory proposes an event like an electrical fire or a slow decompression incapacitated the crew. There is precedent for this. In 2005, Helios Airways Flight 522 flew for hours on autopilot after a loss of cabin pressure, its crew and passengers unconscious from hypoxia. In this scenario, MH370 was a ghost flight, flying on a pre-programmed or default heading until it simply ran out of fuel. But the evidence doesn't fully align. A fire is chaotic. The shutdown of MH370's communications was methodical, and the turnback was a precise navigational maneuver, not a random deviation. This leads to the second, more disturbing theory: deliberate action by a pilot. This is the murder-suicide hypothesis. In this scenario, the pilot secures the cockpit, disables communications, and intentionally depressurizes the aircraft, rendering the passengers and crew unconscious in minutes. This theory, while terrifying, is the only one that cohesively fits all the known evidence: the timing, the precise turn, the long controlled flight, and the final pings. The major piece missing is the one thing we may never know: a motive. Investigations into the pilots' lives found no definitive reason for such an act, just silence. Finally, There is the theory of third-party intervention, such as a hijacking. However, no credible group has ever claimed responsibility. More exotic theories, like a remote cyber hijacking, are considered technically infeasible for a Boeing 777 in 2014 by most aviation experts. After analyzing the data, the most likely, yet most difficult conclusion, supported by many independent investigators, is that MH370 did not simply fall out of the sky, was flown to its end. But without the plane itself, without its black boxes, even the most logical conclusion remains a theory. What followed was the largest and most expensive search in aviation history. Over 24 countries contributed ships, aircraft, and advanced technology. The search area in the southern Indian Ocean was immense, hostile and largely unmapped, a place of crushing pressure and eternal darkness. For years, the deep-sea search found nothing. The abyss held its secrets. Then a breakthrough, thousands of kilometers away. In July 2015, on the shores of Reunion Island, a piece of aircraft debris was discovered. It was a flaperon, a part of the wing. Serial numbers confirmed it belonged to MH370. Analysis of the debris suggested a high-speed, uncontrolled impact with the water, not a gentle ditching. Over the next few years, more pieces washed ashore on the coasts of Africa. They confirmed the location, but not the cause. In 2017, after scanning 120,000 square kilometers of seabed and finding nothing, the official search was suspended indefinitely. The anomaly of MH370 is a chilling reminder. In our hyper-connected, fully mapped world, there are still vast, unknown places where all our technology is rendered powerless. For the families of the 239 people on board, the silence is the loudest sound of all. They are left with no final resting place and no final answers. Somewhere, in the crushing dark, 2 black boxes hold the truth. But until they are found, the ghost flight of MH370 continues, its silent journey through our collective memory,